Hello everyone, my name is Edu and this is Ready Go Expat. In today's video, I asked my friend Erika to share her story moving to Amsterdam during the pandemic in 2020. She moved from Madrid, Spain to Amsterdam with her husband and their dog, and in this video she shares her journey moving to Amsterdam, finding an apartment and integrating in the community as an expat. Ready? Go! I remember when I went to Amsterdam, it was many years ago, but I remember I stayed in a hostel very close to the train station. I don't know, I think it's a main train station. It's where you get the train to the airport. And I remember right next to the train station, there is a park, there's parking just for bikes. And it's
for
like
bikes, yeah. So
many floors and it's just packed with bikes. And on the streets, like you can see that they really respect the cycling lane and stuff because a lot of people are on bikes. Like I've never seen anything like this. Like what I saw in Amsterdam.
Totally. When I got here, it was funny because for me it was like, okay, I do get that you love your like lanes and like your bikes and all, but what about pedestrians? Let me have like I need to walk around as well, and you kind of feel it that like the city was built up like and they love it, and to be honest, like I love that as well. They're supposed like they're really like bike friendly. So there are lines for everywhere, like those parking areas where you can find them like in literally, like if you walk around, you see bikes like all over the place. But those places like this that you can find like the one on top of the other, you can see many of those like close to big train stations or to the ferry as well. There's a ferry that takes you to like another side of the city, and you can find one of those parking specifically for bikes there.
Nice. So that was probably surprising for you, but what are other things that were surprising for you about Amsterdam when you got there?
So many. how long do I have?
It's however, like how much time you want. Like we could be here the whole day talking.
Yeah. Okay. So this thing, let's stick with the bikes thing. Like I love it. You can see literally everyone riding their bikes around. So kids, small kids, moms with like newborns, I'm not kidding, newborns, and they are there. Elderly population, I'm not kidding, they go all over the place with their bikes, carrying stuff. They're so independent. And this, for me, it's fantastic. It's like, I remember seeing this and being surprised and super happy about seeing this in Madrid when it comes like to see older people out, like, it could be my grandpa and grandma there, like having their cañas. In Madrid will be like they'll be drinking beer in one of the bars, like in the terraces and all. And here you can find like it's not the kind of like the same scene that as you have in Madrid, but you find people like older people all over the place, and they go and buy stuff, and they're always with their grandkids as well, helping them. So and something that drives me like insane. Well, it's crazy for me, but not for them, obviously. Like they had those small chairs for kids, like, and they put on the back and the front, like whatever in the bike.
I know.
And they had this huge baskets they put in front of the bike. But like, how can they, like, I don't know how they do it. But they take like sometimes two kids and a big dog, and three kids. And I'm like, okay, I cannot do it. And like, this is insane. And kids, it's super common to see kids going to school by themselves. So this is something that coming from a, kind of violent, unsafe country. It's unusual to find like kids going to school by themselves all the time, and they just take their bikes and they go. And they go for practice or like whatever sports they do. And this is one thing that was a great surprise here. It's super nice to see the city that's old, but kind of like mixed up with all the modern buildings and constructions and way of thinking, because they're super like a super vibrant and modern. And they say I need to get to know more cities like in the countryside and stuff like this, because they say it's not the whole country that it's like this. But in Amsterdam, for example, it's like everything so diverse and like it could be New York, for example. It could be one of the like London. You find people from all over the place. It's super mixed, And this about like modern people and modern buildings and the old city all together. It's super cool. Well, like what I said before, like the city's not that big, so it's pretty cool because you can just like cycle around and get to wherever you want. They have sandwiches for lunch. This is
That's
this is,
yeah.
this is something I'm not used to. Well, they had a bit of this in Spain because sometimes they go for bocadillos, but I don't like. I like warm food. This is something really Brazilian, right? Like warm food for lunch. And here is like they take, I don't know, maybe half an hour. They go for their like they eat their sandwich and that's it. Let's go back to work. And at the end of the day, obviously they have lunch super early because they're hungry. So they'll have lunch, I don't know, dinner, sorry, at around 6 or something. But for us in Brazil, it's super early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. I remember the sandwiches, and I saw that for the first time in Madrid. When I was in
Mhm.
Madrid, I remember people were like just not even Madrid, Valladolid, somewhere in Spain, and they were like having sandwiches for lunch, and I'm like, that's it, like
Yeah.
and yeah, for us it's totally different.
Yeah.
You mentioned the safety in Brazil, and how safe is Amsterdam for women or anyone?
Hmm. I feel super safe here. Like I said, it's kind of like I was used to something else, right? So I was doing that back in Madrid. I was walking around, like I would come back from parties and stuff, or walking to my place and stuff like this. I cannot say I'm living like a normal life in Amsterdam, right? Because it's like this is not the usual kind of stuff people will get. Because like I got here in the middle of the pandemic, even though the situation here was not bad in terms of like lockdown. It's not that I'm going out that much. I think I went like to a restaurant maybe 3 times since March, and we are in November, almost December. So it's not that I'm going to parties or going out late or something like this, but I feel super, super safe. And one thing, especially like being a woman, that's something you asked, and for me it's super important. Like it seems like it doesn't really matter what is it that you're wearing. So if you're wearing like short skirts, that's your deal. Like that's your whatever. So it's not that you walk around and you feel like people are staring at you or like, you know, the
Yeah,
disgusting thing. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's pretty common to find, well, the girls will be cycling around using like skirts. And sometimes you can see their panties, but that's totally fine. No one is like staring at them or like, oh my God, I want to see it. I want to see it. So it feels so natural to them. And sometimes they bike around like kind of like holding their skirt or something. But if they don't, that's totally fine. And I kind of felt the difference. They don't really like, you don't feel like, I don't know, men are staring at you if you pass by a construction camp or something like construction site or something like this, something that's really typical, almost like a joke in Brazil. No one will, like, they don't even care. And this is super nice. Like you feel like, yeah, I can just walk around and this is cool.
that's awesome.
So, and I kind of felt the difference. I know that it's totally cultural. This is not like a criticism. It's not criticisms or anything, but like in August, I went to Italy, and when I got there, like it was like in the same second I got there, I was like, why is that like I feel people like staring at me, like what's happening? Like, and you don't even realize what is it that you're not used to anymore.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna say, but again, it's not cool to, generalize and over
mhm.
generalize stuff. But like I was gonna say that it's more of like a Latin culture. And when I say Latin, I mean, of course, us in Latin America,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but also Italy and Spain, perhaps. But again,
Hmm.
I I don't want to generalize, and maybe that's a stereotypical view. But of course, you're talking from a perspective of a woman who's
Yeah.
been through that, which is, of course, like you can say that better than anyone. So that's
Mm.
that's interesting. And would you say that about the locals there? Um, can they speak English?
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how difficult is it? Because I know you cannot speak Dutch, and your husband, I know you still can speak Dutch. Like, how difficult is it for someone who cannot speak Dutch to live in Amsterdam?
It's super easy to be honest. Like, and I even heard when I got here that before, like, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or something, even like official paperwork, whatever they will send to your place, like the government will send to your place, will be in English as well. So they were trying to do everything really accessible, but they decided to go back to only Dutch because they want to kind of like encourage people to learn the language, at least the basic. Which I think is pretty fair, right? Like you want to be here, that's fair. The language is tough AF, like no kidding. Like pronunciations like okay. Well, it's super difficult, but so they're not doing that like with official like mail and everything. But if you walk around, like my experience so far, it's super good in terms of, like, you go to places, you just ask people like politely, like, sorry, can I speak English? It's pretty rare to go to a place that like no one can speak English. Like if the one person you're talking to cannot do it, like they will ask someone to do so. But it's pretty common to find people like speaking English. If they're younger, like it's almost 100% sure they will speak English. So when I walk around or go to parks and stuff like this, I can always find people. And if they come and talk to me about my dog and like, hi, la la, they start in Dutch. And like, I'm so sorry, I cannot speak Dutch. And they're like, oh, no problem. So blah, blah, blah. And they start. If you go to the supermarket and you need help, totally fine. I went to open my own company yesterday.
Wow.
I had this. And it was totally like English speakers friendly. Let's put it like this. And super easy. If you go to the doctor will speak English. So
that's cool. Doctors.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, well, to be honest, I only had like one appointment. It was over the phone because of the pandemic. But yes, English. But even if you like, I went to the hospital for like a blood test and stuff. I go there. You're doing like all my registration and all, and everything was in English. And everyone is super nice, and everyone was friendly. I didn't feel that, oh my God, another foreigner who cannot speak English. It's the opposite. Like it feels, and it's so natural to them. They switch like this. The kids will switch like this.
They're bilingual. Like I've seen that as well. I think in Germany, not that everyone. Again, I only know Berlin, so I don't know much of Germany. But I remember in Berlin how quickly they would switch from German to English as well. It's something that like. I've read something about that. Like in Scandinavia and in other countries, like Holland and Germany, for example, they have like they start learning English as like super young at school, and the English they learn in school, in public school, is actually very good, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we noticed here. Like we have some neighbors, their kids, and they're Dutch, mom and dad Dutch, and you feel like you're not that comfortable speaking English. But I would say, like, I would bet they have like good classes at school and everything. They're just not there yet. They don't feel like, but the other kids are, yes, English is it's totally normal for them.
Yeah, that's
totally
great.
Normal.
Yeah, and I also agree with you. I think it's good that they do this. I mean, of course, they want to help the expat community there, and that's why they probably decide to do that with the letters, like mailing in English. But I also think it's true that like if you're moving to a country, I think it's kind of like maybe it's a way to show respect as well. It's not that you have to be fluent in Dutch in like a year, but at least to try, and I think that's good. Yeah. What about cost of living there? How are things expensive, and if so, what is expensive? Like rent, groceries, going out for meals.
Yeah. I would say more expensive than Spain, but I mentioned before, Spain and Portugal, I would say, like their capitals, they're pretty cheap, like if you compare to the rest of Europe, right? So it's not really fair to say it's super expensive if you compare to Spain. But when it comes to rents, I didn't find that much of a difference comparing like Madrid and the Netherlands. But supermarket, it's much more expensive. Like I said, it's not really fair to compare Madrid and Spain. But it is like for a couple, we usually save like 100 euros per week to go to like grocery shopping. This will be it. We're not super strict about it, especially like if there's a whatever going on the weekend, we go for more booze, for example. So this would be more money. This is something that you're kind of like, because we were living in Spain before, and wine there is so cheap that once you get here, it's not that cheap, but you can find like Spanish wine, then you can find like Portuguese wine, then you can find your kind of options. But I thought, for example, that Dutch cheese would be super cheap.
I was gonna ask about the cheese. No?
No.
Oh.
It's not that, well, maybe for them it is because they're so used to it, but like the cheese that I have here all the time at home, something's funny. Like you go for Gouda cheese. Well, by the way, they pronounce it Gouda, not Gouda. So you go for Gouda cheese. This is the basic one that you have for sandwich. Like if you're gonna go for a sandwich, like this would be Gouda. This would be like the basic one. But the one that we always buy at home, it's Brie, which is French, because it's the one that's super cheap in the supermarket all the time. And I don't get why the Brie will be cheaper than Dutch cheese.
Yeah.
But they have one thing that is super cool, that they have like maturations, like they have different kinds of cheese. They have many, many different kinds of cheese, and they're usually pretty good. Like I don't remember having like one bad cheese. So this is good, but it's not as cheap as I thought it would be, you know? But you can kind of like find your ways. Like you kind of find a ways, like, or the thing that you want to buy, and you find that you can find pretty much everything here. If you go to the Asian markets, and when I say market, like their stores, not necessarily like a
open market,
like a street market, open market.
Mm-hmm.
You can find many, many things like tapioca, which is pretty, like it's huge in Brazil, but also in Asia. So they have here, it's pretty easy to find. There are a bunch of like Brazilian markets, so you can find a lot of things that we have back home. So yeah, this will be it for grocery shopping. Rent, it's pretty tough, like to say one number. I remember when I was coming here, I was talking to a friend whose brother used to live in city center, like Amsterdam city center, and he was paying like €1,000 for one bedroom. He was renting
one bedroom.
One bedroom. And I could only imagine, okay, maybe this boy is like, it's in this insanely big apartment or something, because this is like crazy money, right?
€1,000 for one bedroom. Wow, that's yeah.
I was talking to another guy who was living kind of in the city center when he got here 4 years ago, and he was paying like 1,400 for an apartment in the city center. It was kind of like a small one, so he moved to the countryside, so it would be like better and everything. So it depends a lot, but if you go to other regions, you can find like better prices and like better like spaces as well.
Yeah, like bigger options for the same price or less, of course.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good. And I know, what about like you mentioned like living in the outskirts? Do they have trains that will?
Yeah, right in front. And to be honest, like let me tell you this: like the city is super small, right? So it take me 10 minutes, 15 maybe, to get to the city center by bike. By bike.
Wow, by bike.
So
that's amazing.
By bike. Yeah, and we have like a metro station right across the street. So it takes me to one of the stations that can connect you to many other places, like one of the hubs they have. And it's pretty close to go to the city center as well if I want to go by train. They have trams as well. So this will be an option.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's super easy. Like it's totally worth it. Sorry, if you want to like tell me if I want to talk about the prices again, like a bit of like cost of living and all. I have a few numbers here.
Tell me.
Yeah, it's around like €18 a month for water.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is something. What they do for power, like you pay kind of an average. You pay an average, and at the end of the year, they go back to you saying like if you use that average or not. So they give you the money back if you don't.
Oh.
So this is something, and something that is really worth it is like renting a bike. The way they do it, it's like you have a bike, and if it breaks, if someone something about this, it's super safe to walk around, but they say that you feel that you are living in Amsterdam for real if someone steals your bike, because this happens all the time. So this is something, you can just go there, they'll give you another one, and it's pretty much it. So depending on the kind of bike they have, you can pay like 16 to 20 euros a month. So I don't think that's a bad one. And
no, and so I think they see it. They see the bike as like your vehicle. It's not only it's like your vehicle.
It is like you need it. Yeah.
Do you have any tips for someone who's thinking about moving to Amsterdam? I was gonna say Holland in general, but of course, due to the pandemic, I mean, you haven't been able to travel much. But moving to Amsterdam, any tips for foreigners?
One thing that is super nice, it's like they have a rule if you get hired by a company here and you're coming from other country, they have something like the 30% ruling. It's something that you pay less taxes, pretty much.
Oh.
So this is something to be aware of. Like if you have the chance, if you have the opportunity of like coming, like a company hires you and you're moving to the country because of this, and it makes a huge difference. It's a great amount of money, so it's worth like checking it out. It's super nice. I mentioned like some stuff about the neighborhoods and all. This is definitely a thing. Don't worry too much. Like they have, the name is Amsterdam. It's the name of the office they have here to embrace expats, and they're so nice. They're super nice. You go there, they speak English like perfect English. Everyone speaks, and they kind of like take you through the whole process of like, yeah, so you're getting here. What you need to do is this. The documents you need is like are those, and blah 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 blah. And they're super nice and like kind of like, I know you're kind of nervous. You're moving to a different country, but don't worry. This is the like deadline, and they give you like the tote bag with full of like books with tips, like how to walk around town, how to go to other cities like around Amsterdam. So this is super cool as well. Like you can count on them for sure. Everyone says that Dutch people, they're super straightforward. So if you're and coming from Latin countries, this is not usually the kind of like behavior we used to. So they will say, yeah, I don't like this, whatever, I don't know, report you sent me or something. They'll just say it to your face, which is good if you think about it. But sometimes people hear like, I didn't have the chance to work with Dutch people yet, but that's it. People just say like, oh my God, I was kind of like shocked. But this is the way they are. Like in a way, it's only natural.
Erika, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, no. Likewise.
And I'll see you next time. Is there anything else that you think should be added here about living in Amsterdam? Please let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I'll see you next time.